Jimmy, thank you. But you didn't quite get the joke right about fishermen. Fishermen are people who surround themselves by water, waiting for a jerk on the other end of the line. Oh, I just blew the joke, Jimmy. Fishermen are a jerk who sits in the water, waiting for a jerk on the other end of the line. Darn, I wish I had Ron Lynn's talent. But then I'd have to be shorter, wouldn't I? Thank you, everyone, for the trust and confidence you have placed in me to lead your association, the International Code Council. Tonight I have a number of introductions, and first and foremost in my introductions, I've been reminded by one Lynette Bailey to not forget or leave out my wonderful wife of 29 years, Janet. Janet, would you please stand? Isn't she lovely? Janet, she will serve you as your First Lady with enthusiasm and energy. Janet, thank you for agreeing so long ago that if we ever got the opportunity to do this together with me. I am told this is not a task that can be done easily by one person, and I'll be counting on you. Our daughter Maggie is also here. Maggie, would you please stand up? Maggie, would you please turn around so people can see your big smile? You can tell from her smile she's had a blast with you this week. In fact, I don't know who's had a better time. Board members who sat at the dinner table with her, other folks we met along the way, or just plain old members. But everywhere you've gone, Maggie, I've got nothing but compliments about you. Thank you for being here today. Next, I'd like to introduce my mom and dad, June and Jack Dupler. If you would please stand. Thank you for all that you have done for me. I would not be here today if it were not for your support and encouragement. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, Mom and Dad. You know, Jimmy got up here and talked about mentors that he's had, and I've had a few mentors. My first mentor, however, is no longer with us on this planet. His name was Joseph Bartell. He was the building official in Henrico County, and he hired me right smack out of college as a young whippersnapper, which is what Emory used to call me. His son Richard is here. Richard, where are you? Would you please stand? Take a bow for your dad. Richard followed in his father's footsteps to become the building official for Hanover County. Thank you for being here tonight, Richard. And then there's Emory, who was just up here. Emory, would you please stand? Emory, you've not only been a mentor, but a self-appointed advisor and taskmaster and frequent sender of emails called Emorygrams, which contain instructions and advice. And I swear, though I haven't worked for you for 20 years, read like I still work for you. Thank you for the honor tonight that you've bestowed on me by swearing me in. And finally, I'd like to introduce my most recent mentor, Jay Stegmeyer. Jay, would you please stand? Jay is my boss, the county administrator from Chesterfield County. We don't get county administrators out here very often, and so I wanted Jay to spend this special night with me. You know, when I talked to Jay, I asked Jay, would he continue to support my activities in the Code Council? And he matter-of-factly replied that he would. In fact, what I remember he said is, "Bill, all you have to do is see that your work gets done, and everything will be just fine with the rest of that stuff." Jay, thank you. And I wish to thank our community for the support you have provided for my new role with the Code Council. Membership associations depend upon support from leaders like you, and I thank you. And then lastly, I don't want to leave anybody out, but to the members of the Chesterfield County Building Inspection staff who are here, would you please stand and be recognized? These are the guys who've done the regular work when I've been gone away. And there's been plenty to do. In fact, whenever I go out of town, it seems something always happens. And Jay and I experienced this morning as we learned that a small aircraft had crash landed into our drinking water reservoir this morning. So I want to thank all the folks who are back home who continue to carry on the mission of providing a safe and secure community for us in Chesterfield. Lastly, I want to recognize all of you. You know, you heard Ken Krause tell a little story. Kind of choked me up. But you, the members, and your interaction with me have contributed more than you can imagine. You've helped me grow. You've helped me become a better person. And for that, I thank you. Thank you so much. It is traditional for new presidents to list objectives and initiatives. However, you've heard many objectives and initiatives over the course of the week, and I thought rather that I would do something different tonight. I thought it would be illustrative for us to review where we were a few short years ago and now where we are as an association. I'd like to see with us just how far we have come. You know, Steve Jobs said once, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." And I'd like to do that with you tonight. So way back in the good old days, in the 1990s when this journey begins, I was asked to serve on a committee called BCMC, the Board for Coordination of Model Codes. Bob Weber was on that committee. He's out there somewhere tonight. Hey! I was a young guy. I think I had hair. Bob, I think your hair had color. Yes, it does, including the coordination process. You know, some of you guys loved the work of BCMC, and some of you hated it. And you let Bob and I know frequently. That was the best collaborative effort we had at the time to coordinate and develop codes. However, soon afterward, our legacy leaders in Boca, Southern, and the International Building Code Congress, ICBO, thank you, began to talk about a better way to develop codes in a collaborative fashion. We began to consider consolidating whole codes, not just topics, and coordinating them. First, it was the plumbing code. Jimmy mentioned that, and he served on a committee with a couple folks who are still here. Then the building code, the mechanical code, and the fire code. We were on our way to consolidated codes. We still had separate organizations, and soon our leaders began talking about consolidating the organizations. At that time, you could go to any one of our individual meetings. You could get it all done in a week. You could go to the business meeting, you could vote in the elections, you could participate in the code changes, and you could get training and education. Boy, an awful lot has changed. At times, our current code change hearings have lasted over 2 weeks. To the original 4 codes we developed, a residential code was developed, a performance code, and existing buildings code. This week we'll be publishing 2 new codes, the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code and the International Green Construction Code. Today we publish 15 codes and 5 standards. Originally, our codes were not widely adopted. Today, all 50 states and the District of Columbia have adopted them at the state or jurisdictional level. Federal agencies, including the Architect of the Capitol, the General Services Administration, the National Park Service, the U.S. Forest Service, the Veterans Administration, the Department of Defense, all have references to the I codes and use them. Our codes are also adopted and referenced in Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and across the Middle East. We are consulting with Mexico to develop a residential building code. We are assisting Egypt to establish training, certification, and laboratory accreditation programs. We are also working with Pakistan to improve its seismic requirements in their codes. We have chapters in Canada. They're here. I wish we had one in Australia, because they're here. New Zealand and Kenya. At this week's conference, we have delegates from more than a dozen nations. As codes and adoptions have increased dramatically, the faces of our organization have become much more diverse. This was intended. We started as individual associations of building officials. We had a contingent of fire officials who associated with us. One of the original goals of our consolidation was to become a Big Tent organization. That Big Tent organization was intended to allow for professionals from all walks of life with interests in building safety and construction to participate, where they could all collaborate together to develop the finest codes that we know. We have accomplished this goal. Fire officials have been integrated solidly into our ranks. Just look around you here tonight. We have strategic partnerships, and we have established them with other associations that share our goals and share our interest. We are increasingly joined by a contingent of members who are interested in energy conservation and sustainability. All of us bring uniquely different views and perspectives forward, many times on the very same issue. Our fledgling new association has succeeded beyond my wildest dreams, and I bet yours too. We publish the most widely adopted family of codes. Our membership has greatly expanded. At the same time, it has diversified. We have achieved much of what we have established. However, inevitably, with the extent of challenges that we have experienced and the changes that we have seen and are currently experiencing, some of us pine for the good old days, remembering when. This is natural. It's to be expected. Inevitably, our growth and success has led us to rethink some of those things, especially where we are headed. None of this is new. In the 1750s, a Dutch philosopher, Soren Abaya, remarked, "While life can be understood by looking backwards, it can only be lived by looking forward." Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, I would like to demonstrate who and how, as members of the International Code Council, we look forward. And as your new president, I respectfully request that you stand after I call the name of your group. So if you would please join me. This is going to be the participative part of my talk here tonight. First, I would ask the current board of directors to please stand. Next, I would ask all former board of director members in the audience to please stand. Next, I would like to ask the ICC Evaluation Service Board of Managers and the International Accreditation Service Board members to please stand. Next, I would like to ask the governing leaders of our new membership councils to please stand. And those who volunteer on our codes and standards committees, would you please stand? And those on the Codes and Standards Council and the Code Action Committees, would you please stand? And if you conduct training and education in our many offerings, either at the chapter level or for the International Code Council, would you please stand? And if somehow I've missed you in your service to the International Code Council, and you have served the members to advance our mission, would you please stand? Now take a look around you at the folks standing in the room. These are the many faces of our association. And these are the faces of the members who are moving our association forward and have moved it forward for the betterment of all of us. Thank you for making the Code Council what it has become and what it can be in the future. Thank you for looking forward with me. And lastly, I look forward to the new journey that I'm about to embark upon with you, together as your new president. Thank you very much.